Wonderful. Hi, everyone. We're just letting everybody fly through the internet to join us for our session. So I'll just give it a moment before we officially kick off. Great. Fab. Hi there. Hi, everyone. I'm sure people will still be joining us. Oh, yeah, I can still see a few people are joining us now. But I'll get us going with the housekeeping and the introductions and things like that, and I'm sure people will keep on joining us as we continue, as we kick off. Great, lovely. All right. Well, thank you very much for signing up. Thank you very much for joining us and spending your lunchtime here. So my name's Catherine Manning. I'm here from Impact Reporting, hosting this webinar, which we've snappily titled "You Can't Spreadsheet Your Way to Social Value." And this is going to be a session with Shelley Cotterill, who's joining us here from DXC Technology, who's very kindly agreed to share some of their experience. Oh, you can't. Danielle said she can't hear anything. Could I just check if anybody else can hear me? Maybe or Neil or Shelley, if you could let me know. Okay, yeah, some
I can
people
hear
saying
you.
you can hear. Okay, oh, good. All right, there you go. Lovely. So many thumbs up. There you go. I feel like I'm being encouraged to continue there. That's lovely. We have some like happy emojis throughout the session. That would be great. Keep me and Shelley going.
Yes,
Knowing you,
please.
yeah, you're still with us. That would be lovely. Cool. Yeah, so great. Wonderful. Thank you very much for joining us. Glad that you can hear. Hopefully you can see the screen as well. Like I say, I'll kick off with little bit of housekeeping. Won't be anything unusual. I know we've probably all been on a million one of these over many years now. But yeah, just to let you know, we are recording the session, and the aim is that the slides and the recording will be shared certainly with everybody that's signed up today. But we also publish our webinars on with a bit of a write-up onto the website in a blog format. So people can catch up afterwards. We love people to engage with our sessions, so do feel free to enter questions at any point through the session in the Q&A. There's also the chat function, so it'd be lovely to know who's here and for you to chat with us and with one another. For Shelley and myself, we've got things that we want to talk to you about. We've got some content to cover, so we'll walk through that, and then we've got a section at the end to be able to hopefully address some of the points and the questions that you raise throughout. We do encourage everyone to stay on mute. It might actually be a forced thing on the way that the Teams meeting's set up, but if not, and you accidentally come on to your sound gets turned on, please don't be offended if we do a click to mute you again. It's just to manage the sound when there's quite a lot of us on the meeting. So I think that's everything housekeeping wise. Just in terms of what we all doing here and what are we hoping to cover. I suppose that it's most basic. We're here to talk about social value and tech. Specifically, we're wanting to talk about doing social value in the context of being a technology company. We're trying to think practically here. What is it that a tech or digital company would be able to do in relation to social value? What some social value things that we can do, as well as then how do we go about measuring and valuing those things? We're going to look at how you choose what to focus on, put like the not so secret ingredient, talking to people, talking to locals, understanding needs. That probably won't come as a shock to anyone who's ever heard me talk before. But that's, that is a running theme, a red thread through the session. And then we're going to do a bit of looking forward. So from my perspective, but more importantly from Shelley's perspective, what's coming up in the world of tech and what's coming up in the world of social value. I have a bit of trepidation looking to the future, any of the years of the past decade. So slight fear of what's coming up in 2026, but perhaps there's some opportunities and some things for us to look forwards to as well. Great. So hopefully that sounds all right and in line with what you were expecting, and you're in the right room. So just to quickly introduce who you're with today. So like I said, my name's Catherine Manning. I'm the Director of Impact Practice at Impact Reporting and the Programme Director of a programme of work called MeasureUp, which is a social and environmental measurement and valuation resource. And I'm a self-confessed social value and impact management geek. I'm really, really pleased to be joined by Shelley Cotterill, who's the Head of Social Value at DXC Technology, they've got some fascinating experience as a large tech company. So yeah, I've really enjoyed our discussions on this topic so far, and really looking forward to what you're going to share with us today, Shelley. So just a little bit of positioning what we are talking about to get to today. So yeah, like I said, at its most basic, we're talking about tech and social value, and tech is like such a hot topic these days, and certainly through my lifetime, at an increasing speed, it's become a hot topic, and the speed of the development, the opportunities, the risks seem to be in the news, in personal conversations, in certainly in work-based conversations, with increasing levels of importance, particularly over the last few years. I mean, whether that's around growth or digitization or automation or efficiency, certainly over the last few years around the topic of the big beast of AI. But tech isn't the end goal. Being more techy, being more digital, it's not the end goal. It is, and it should be, a tool or a set of tools to support us to achieve our goals. I mean, from an organization or a business perspective, that might be about increased efficiency, automation, growth, commercialization, commercial opportunities. But to do with social value, that might be should be our societal goals, our community goals, our well-being goals. Because social value is about people. Here we go. Here's some people, about lots of different types of people with different needs, different care responsibilities, different groupings of people. There might be different subgroups of us, might be different ones of us with different socioeconomic status. There might be people who have families or parents, or people just doing stuff, playing games or doing sport. Just lots and lots and lots of people. So people should be at the heart of our social value practice, and they should be at the heart of our understanding of the interconnection of tech and social value. So how can we do something with tech for achieving our social value goals? I mean, for the majority of us, that's going to be through work, right? So it might be through our organizations doing things, building, producing, delivering, analyzing and constructing, theorizing, processing, working in the arts, in financial institutions, all of the different things that we do. That's how we can use tech or interact with tech to be able to help us to support our social value goals. from our perspective, impact reporting, and mine personally, I work at impact reporting. We are a tech company. We're a little tech company. We're an SME that's grown out of a social enterprise digital agency. We're proudly diverse owned and diverse run. We're here to support people with their missions around achieving a more sustainable, stable, and equitable world now and for the future. Our practice is about better, supporting people to do better social value and impact management practice, and that's my area of interest as a social value and impact management geek. One big area of or program of work that we're dedicated to, and certainly for myself, in this goal of supporting people towards better measurement and valuation practice using tech is through MeasureUp. So this is our program focused on better social and environmental valuation and measurement practice, and that being more open, more transparent, freely available. And within our impact reporting platform itself, we do lots of stuff, lots of work trying to develop better social value through tech, or techie social value practice. Like some of the cool things, or I think they're cool things, that we've been working on lately around better ways of being able to track and then visualize beneficiary journeys, or how do we better track and then visualize our carbon reduction reporting. Is there different ways that we can present our data, so through engaging things like infographics, and can we support people better with their confidence in their data through things like increased validation functionality in the platform. But does any of that actually matter? Got really cool practice, really cool functionality within tech, but the tech isn't the goal. The goal is actually having an impact in people's lives and the environment, and making our now and our future better. So that's where I'm going to bring Shelley into our conversation here, and pass over to the actual expert to be able to tell us what is it that we can and should be doing within tech and social value to be able to have this better impact on people's lives and our home, which is our planet. And so, Shelley, I'd love to bring you into the conversation now. And first off, we'll start with the simple questions. If you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this weird and wacky world of social value and technology.
Amazing. Thank you, Catherine. So hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar. It's an absolute privilege to be here today. Now, obviously, I don't know what type of group we've got here, whether or not you're seasoned social value people or whether you're new to social value. So I will kind of cover that off in various points. But yes, so I'm Shelley Cotterill, and I'm the head of social value for DXC Technology. And to be honest, it sounds weird to say, but I fell into social value. It has always been a passion of mine personally. And in years previous, I actually worked in pharmacy. So I worked in pharmacy for 14 years. I was out actually in our communities delivering services. I was also we used to do campaigns like smoking cessation programs, weight loss programs, support for families when you've got things like you're having to educate them around things like head lice and how to effectively take painkillers. And we were really entrenched in our communities. And that was a really big passion for me, because you got to know the individuals, you got to know the families, you got to hear their whys and wherefores when they had new babies and they came in with new buggies, and it was all very special to me. And I think in that way, that's where that has kind of morphed into the role that I am in now. And the only reason that I particularly left the sort of pharmacy environment was COVID. And obviously that was a big thing. We were obviously frontline. It was really tricky. We were implementing new services. We were implementing the PCT testing. We were implementing vaccination programs. We were having to deliver medication out into the communities for patients that were shielding. We were having to be supportive of those particular individuals when their partners and carers and things were obviously going into hospital because they were poorly. And I think towards the end of COVID, it just literally got to a point where it was like, I want to do more. This is not where that ends. I need to do something bigger. And that's where DXC came in. So I came into DXC initially as a service delivery manager, having been in the kind of service delivery space, so to speak. Still doing a lot of, and one of the things I will say about DXC Technology, the culture here is amazing. So we have lots of things that people can get involved in. We've got all of our kind of ERGs and loads of different networking groups, and we do quite a lot in terms of inclusion and belonging. So I swiftly got involved in all of that kind of stuff because that was my wheelhouse. That was where my passion was. And as the social value beast has morphed over the last sort of 4 or 5 years, 6 years now, it has morphed into something quite large, that it ended up being that we sat there and said, no, there are definitely roles that are not side of your desk roles. They are roles that need to be given the time and attention so that we can actually make sure that we're delivering the impact that we really need to be seeing in our communities, in our workplaces, and with the people that we work with every day, so even through our clients. So that is basically how I fell into this, and it has just kind of it has grown. So obviously I've become the head of social value in June last year, having done a lot of kind of ESG specific account work with particular clients prior to that. And now I'm relishing in the arena that I'm in at the moment, in order to kind of strategically really grow this from a corporate UKI perspective. And that is where my mission is at the moment. So
wonderful. So yeah, what a great journey and story of how you've reached into the social value world, Shelley. So could you tell us a little bit more about DXC Tech, and why does DXC Technology care about social value? What's its why is it come into this space as well, and invested in your role and all of its activities?
Oh, absolutely. So, I mean, one of the things I will say is it's embedded in our DNA here. It's not something that is a tick box exercise for us. It is literally a case of we live and breathe this kind of stuff every day. But I mean, to talk a little bit about, for those of you that don't know who DXC Technology actually are, would probably be a good starting point. So as you can see on the screen, we're a leading enterprise technology and innovation partner. So we deliver software services and solutions to global enterprises and public sector organizations. So we are a strategic government supplier. And we help lots of different types of businesses to harness AI to drive outcomes at a time of, exponential change. We've spoken about AI this morning already. And let's face it, since, Chat GPT and things like that were launched, it's moved at speed. So that is one way in which that we're doing that. And we've a lot of deep expertise in managed infrastructure services, application modernization, industry-specific software solutions. But we modernize, we secure, and we operate some of the world's most complex technology estates and mission-critical infrastructure. So that's kind of where we are placed within various different types of organizations. But with regards to how we do social value in all of those areas, if we go to the next slide, Catherine, please. Thank you. We are, as I say, aligned with the government and our mission-driven government strategy. So this is the goals that the government has overall, so those of you that don't know social value, this will be new to you, but those of you that do, this is where this comes from. So the government has 5 strategic goals in which that they expect the government as a whole to meet as a UK entity. So we have kickstart economic growth, make Britain a clean energy superpower, take back our streets, break down barriers to opportunity, and then build an NHS for the fit for the future. And the way in which that we do that as corporations and how that is enacted upon us from a government perspective is in the new social value model. So the social value model has been about since 2020, but it did get a revamp last year in October. So we now have PPN 002. So if we could move on to that slide, please, Catherine. Thank you very much. So obviously this particular model aligns with those missions, but is simplified a bit more for procurement purposes. So when you're a supplier, you are given this social value model, and we know that when we do procurement now, that there is a minimum weighting of 10% for all social value on any contract that is over 5 million. And these are the areas in which that we are asked to particularly focus on. So that is fair work, which used to be in the old version of the model, tackling economic inequality. So the usual things that we would find in there would be, local job creation, inclusive employment practices, as well as, support for good work and fair pay. They also then translated it into green growth, so fighting climate change, so reducing carbon emissions. We've all got net zero targets. That's really incredibly important to the country at the moment. Sustainable practices, and then green innovation. So how are we actually using the technology that we have to make it work better for us in a more efficient and sustainable way? Health and well-being, so improving physical and mental health. A lot of this came about on the back of COVID as well. So obviously there was a lot of help needed to get people back into work, because obviously changing of working conditions and things like that. Reducing health inequalities, and then making sure that people have access to services. Opportunities. So this used to be equal opportunity. So this is making sure that there are support for disadvantaged groups. We are still doing inclusive recruitment, and things like skills development is a really big thing at the moment. And we can talk about that a little bit later. But community, so strengthening the communities in which that we live and work in. Obviously, sometimes that can be incredibly difficult, especially when you're a global company, or you're virtual, or you're, even most companies can probably identify with this in terms of being hybrid. So sometimes you work from home and occasionally you might work in the office. But making sure that we are actually plugging all of that investment back into local communities so that they can actually thrive. We've had all of these discussions where people consider London to be obviously the epicenter of the UK, and that's where all of the funding goes. So we obviously want to make sure that other areas of the country are getting that funding, and they are getting that opportunity as well. So things like VCSE engagement, so engaging with local businesses, with charities, with the VCSEs, who are then going to help us to deliver those in local communities, because they are the experts in those areas who actually drive the campaigns in those spaces to actually make a difference.
Wonderful. And then I know we've got a bit more explanation of what social value practice actually means to yourself and to DXC Technology. I mean, you've also already given a good and full introduction to some of the high level or the national drivers behind why this is important. So I know the PPN 002 and the social value model, it was such a big deal last year and the year before in terms of that coming into play. So it's super interesting understanding how that's actually playing out for organisations such as yourself, who are key players in delivering central government contracts. But are there other things about the company, and I suppose from your own perspective, that drive DXC towards this being important?
I think it's definitely about making, so obviously what we've got in place within the business is this is how we actually do social values. So there is a kind of a strategic angle to it in some ways. So the way that we tend to look at it is that we understand the challenges, the trends, and the predictions for the coming years. So by doing that, we're setting transparent goals, measurable social value initiatives. We're increasing accountability, and we're also encouraging honest conversations amongst our teams, because we can't make assumptions. I think that is one of the big takeaways that I would say, is that we obviously have to talk to people have to be heard, we have to have an understanding of what it is that they need, what it is they want, what it is that they're expecting. But we also embed social value in our operations. So we're integrating social value into procurement, into our partnerships, into our decision-making processes. We prioritize suppliers and collaborators who share our values around equity, sustainability, and community impact, so that we're making sure that we're all on the same page. That's really important to us. Well-being as a strategic priority. So we promote, and I will say this until I'm blue in the face, a healthy life-work balance. Life should always come first, through flexible working, mental health support, well-being initiatives. Our policies and our culture are designed to support the whole person and not just the employee. We are also creating a culture of belonging. So I mentioned that earlier as well. So we foster inclusive leadership, psychological safety, where people feel heard, valued, respected, and we celebrate individuality. We encourage open dialogue through forums and networks and awareness campaigns. And that is incredibly at the heart of who we are at DXC, because we want to make sure that everyone feels heard. Collaborative working is really important, and obviously that is something that obviously most businesses and places do have already in place, but we collaboratively work with our customers. We share ideas, we align ourselves with their strategies, because obviously we want to make sure that we're delivering the absolute best impact that we can possibly give. Measuring and reporting impact. That one is obviously at the heart of everything Catherine does. So we track progress using KPIs aligned with our social value goals, and we share stories, data, and feedback to demonstrate the real world impact of our work, both internally and externally, because it's not all just about the external facing stuff that we can actually publish and talk about how great we are. It's also done internally as well. So we're talking about it right from sort of grassroots out.
Brilliant. Thank you, Shelley. So so we've got getting a clear picture here of who DXC Tech are, who you are, and the social value team, what's driving the practice from a national or a mission and contractual basis, some of those things within the organisation, the process-wise, and how you actually put things into place. But can we talk a little bit now about what do you actually do? So what are some of the practical things that DXC put in place that are your social value activities that you're aiming to support people's improvement in people's lives?
Yeah, I think, as we know, it's been a bit of a game changer of late, trying to get that mindset and that mindset change around it being corporate social responsibility into social value. And obviously, what is social value if it's not place-based purpose? So trying to leverage a big global corporation where you've then got it at UK level, which is what I function at. And then we are obviously right across the entirety of the UK. So using some of our flagship programs, such as our Dandelion program. So our Dandelion program, if we can get the slide, that's amazing. Thank you very much. So the Dandelion program is a specific program that we have that is an environment that supports and celebrates the talents and skills of neurodiverse individuals, such as those with autism, ADHD, or dyslexia. And it helps them to build valuable skills to pursue a career in technology. So the vision DXC actually has with this program is it increases workforce participation rate of neurodiverse people, enhances their technical and life skills to enable the development of their IT careers. And as you can see from the screen, we have a 92% retention rate of those particular individuals, with 75% of them reporting, job satisfaction. So it is that different way of, we understand as a technology company. I think this has been quite prevalent throughout the last few years, where neurodiversity has become a real kind of more of an understanding, and there's more of an awareness around it. That different ways of thinking and diverse perspectives can actually bring an increase in productivity. So we've tracked it, and we've reported that there's a 30 to 40% increase in productivity from having those particular individuals in and around our businesses, because they think differently. It's out of the box thinking. They see patterns the way that we don't necessarily see patterns. It's really been a worthwhile program. Just bringing them in and seeing them thrive has been absolutely amazing. And obviously then we've built up the awareness around that within our teams, because we've developed Dandelion buddy programs where individuals know then how to support those individuals in the best possible way, making things more accessible for them, and everything else. So that's been a really kind of driving force behind that. And we have a real kind of big success rate for that. And it's really, really an exciting program. We also have something called our Digital Futures Academy. And the Digital Futures Academy is basically a 4-year STEM program that we give to secondary school age children to develop key social and technical skills which enhance their career prospects. So the curriculum of the Digital Futures Academy has been co-created by DXC Technology's experts, the Manchester United Foundation, and local teacher advisory groups, because the Manchester United Foundation actually have pastoral carers in and around schools in deprived areas of Manchester. And obviously our programme did start there. And together with all of those individuals, they use mentoring, personal development, and practical sessions to build basically what we are saying are the social leaders of the future. So the DFA in Manchester is now in its 4th year, and that has upskilled and empowered 50 students from 6 schools in the Greater Manchester area. We then opened our Glasgow City region Digital Futures Academy with DWI West and their 4 supporting authorities. And that was for 52 students from 8 schools in the Glasgow City region. And we have just expanded into Newcastle with the Newcastle Foundation, and we're offering the programme to 50 students from 5 schools in Newcastle. And the most amazing thing about this is that this time in Newcastle, we've got a 50-50 gender split, which we've not had before, which is really exciting. Then that moves on to our STEM Ambassador program, which I'm really proud of. And as a proud STEM Ambassador, I can talk about this. So we delivered a staggering 216 activities in FY25 with 7,014 volunteer hours across the entirety of the business, which reached 30,308 participants, which was really, really amazing. And I really do thank every single STEM ambassador for, DXC or not, giving your time out into the communities and helping the next stage of these entrepreneurs, of these new business leaders, actually understand that they have and can do careers in STEM is honestly amazing. So I applaud every single one of you. If any of you are not a STEM ambassador, I do recommend that you do become a STEM ambassador.
Wonderful.
So yes, this is my key takeaway that I'm just going to point out. So we talk a lot about data and metrics. And I know for those of you that do procurement, and I know that those of you that do social value for a living, it is all about the data and metrics. It's all about, providing that data into impact and making sure that we are recording the outputs of what it is that we're achieving. You know, is there a more than 90% satisfaction rate on a survey? Is there, you know, how many apprentices have you brought into a business? How many carbon emissions have you saved over the course of a year? You know, those are all fantastic metrics to have, but you still need the story. You know, yes, okay, we've done all of those great things, but so what? What does that mean? You still need to be able to tell that story, showcasing the tangible outcomes of those particular stories, in addition to those outputs, because that is actually how you bring everybody on that social value journey with you. It becomes meaningful. It becomes something that they can look into and sit there and go, do you know what? Actually, yes, that matters to me. I've got, you know, the STEM activity. I've got children now that are struggling to find employment. Okay, so we've told them how many people we've brought in apprenticeships. Okay, great. But so what? Well, that actually means that, you know, those that are struggling for employment, we're actually bringing them in. We're actually giving them careers. We're actually giving them support and options and ways, a different way to get an education and work. So those stories are really important.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Shelley. I've sort of dropped that key takeaway on you there, because I was supposed to put that at the end of the presentation. So we're everybody remember that key takeaway, and remember at the end of the session as well as now, sort of halfway through. But it's still relevant at any point, right? Any of these metrics, any of the data, it's only worthwhile if it helps us to tell the story of the thing that we've actually done and the people that we've impacted, which sort of evidence through those example case studies that you've shared with us there, Shelley. So one thing that we thought when Shelley and I were putting our session together is that it might be useful, fun, interesting to do a bit of a test with a couple of the programs that Shelley's outlined for us that DXC Technology do, using some examples from the MeasureUp measurement and valuation framework. I do apologize that I keep on tripping over my words there and forgetting which thing I'm saying, but there we go. MeasureUp measurement and valuation framework. So first of all, looking at the Digital Futures Academy, and particularly taking the Manchester example that Shelley has walked us through, I had a look at, or Shelley shared some of the details like she shared in the session today, and a few more points about the session. So I pulled out a few of the key details that would help in saying, well, what do we need to know to say, out of the MeasureUp set of values, what could be an appropriate approximate or proxy value to be able to use to estimate the social value that could be created through this program. So the what is that it's a 4-year educational program based in Manchester. It's run in partnership with the Manchester United Foundation, and the program's focused on delivering STEM and digital skills activities aimed at improving young people's STEM and digital skills. The who is that it's for young people, right? It's for, and particularly in this program, there were 50 young people kicking off at around age 12 to 13, but running over the 4 years, so ending up about age 16. In terms of what's delivered, there were 32 sessions, which was a combination of set sessions that were part of the program, and then 4 additional ad hoc events over the 4 years, which I've made an assumption of that being equivalent to approximately 4 weeks of full-time engagement, which gives us a good case that could be associated with our value WWD for engaging in youth activities, which is an approximate or proxy value that relates to a young person, high school age 12 to 18, who's engaging in youth activities for the equivalent of up to 4 weeks. It's within a year, so in this case we're increasing the assumption or sort of applying that across a 4-year period rather than a 1 year period, but the amount of time is still reasonably equivalent. And this proxy value offers a well-being and economic value for the young person of £1,550 worth of social value for that young person participating in the program. So sort of using that offered me the opportunity to be able to say, quite simply, let's estimate this social value by going 50 young people times the proxy value, and that would give us approximately, or estimated, £77,500 for that one cohort of young people. That's the social value they could gain through this program. Now, we may and want to reflect some sort of discount here, and what I mean by that is sort of it's some sort of assessment of saying, like, how confident are we that this value has actually been actualized through the program, and how much of that was down to us, or how much would have happened anyway. In this case, I've made this 50% discount assumption because this program has been run and developed in partnership with the Manchester United Foundation. So literally gone, let's cut it in half, and 50% can go to DXC and 50% would go to the Man United Foundation. Maybe that's incorrect. Maybe that split isn't as equal. Maybe there's some other considerations, but that's our test or experiment here of saying, well, if we have a go with these concepts in relation to measurement and then valuation, what could we do? What could we do here? I did think we've got another value in the MeasureUp set that could be relevant to this particular case, which is WWL2, improved digital skills and inclusion. So this particular program is specifically focused on STEM and digital skills, and this value relates to digital skills. So there's certainly an equivalence there. We'd advise, particularly sort of when people are starting out, for people not to use more than one MeasureUp value at the same time for the same group of people or the same program. So I went with, right, we'll stick with the one that seems most relevant to the program, and we'll use engaging in youth activities. And the other thing to note is that this is what MeasureUp calls a bronze level estimation or measurement or value based on the data that's available here, which is sort of number of people, length of time. As we increased, or if Shelley and I spent more time together and pulled out more in detail information about the program, we might be able to adjust that value to what we call the silver level. So is there more information that we've got about the young people that are impacted through the program, and therefore the value that they gain could be different for them because of their demographics, their circumstances, where they're at to where they end up from beginning to end of the program, or what we call gold level of measurement, where you actually talk to the young people at the beginning, at the middle, at the end, and track from their perspective whether they've experienced any skills, well-being, or other outcomes or change, and then we value that instead. So there'd certainly be ways of being able to update and increase the accuracy or your confidence in the value estimation, but at bronze level, you can or whatever information you've got, you can still have a go and use the values in your case to give you some estimates of the value that's being created through your program. So that's number one. Number two that we wanted to look at was the STEM Ambassador Programme. Now, as Shelley said, this is a staff volunteering programme. So that's our what. I've made the assumption in there, right? This is STEM qualified professionals who, certainly in my opinion, would be highly skilled. And there's a huge amount of actual activity delivered, right? 7 1,014 hours, or it's a very quick calculation of about 200 weeks, full-time work weeks worth of activities within the course of the 1 year. Now, for me, this most best connects with our value WWD2 volunteering regularly, which gives a monetized social value of £3,400, which is an economic and well-being value for a person volunteering regularly over the course of a year. So using the data that we've got here, I could start off with going using the 7,014 hours and timesing that by an hourly economic equivalent or cost replacement value. So here I've used the higher level of this estimated value, which is £29 per hour, which is a higher sort of wage replacement cost. I think our average one in MeasureUp is £19. So this is for highly skilled work or volunteering work. So there we go. And that would give us just about £200,000 worth of value. Again, we might think, are we absolutely sure that this has happened, or are we what would have happened anyway? Maybe these people would have volunteered anyway, irrespective of DXC putting this program into place, etc. So perhaps we want to apply a discount. Perhaps we don't. Also, we might want to think about whether, are these people regularly volunteering, or is this 7,000 individuals doing an hour? Probably somewhere in between. But if I took that number and then divided it or timesed it, whichever way around, by a regular volunteering amount, which is about 8 hours a month, then that gives us about 96 people, which we could then look at, right, for people who volunteer regularly, which NCVO say is about 8 hours a month, there's a pretty well-researched well-being impact for that person. So here I've added that on and said, right, we could times 96 people by the well-being value, which would give us about £150,000 worth of social value. Again, we could say, are we absolutely sure those people have had that well-being gain? Maybe not, so we'll apply a low level, or what we term in MeasureUp a low level discount of 25%. So yeah, it's just an experiment. It's at bronze level. Please don't take this as Shelley's audited social value report, but we wanted to share our experiment and testing with you. So we've got two final questions that I'm going to pose to poor Shelley, who I've been asking for all of the insights and knowledge to share with us. So finally, Shelley, I'm going to first of all ask you, is there any lessons that you've learned through this process of doing social value within DXC Technology that you could share with us? And then secondly, we're going to look at what's coming up next. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can see one another for these final questions.
Amazing, thank you. So any lessons? So I think it kind of goes into hand in hand with the title of the webinar. So you can't spreadsheet social value as much as you kind of really want to. Yes, fine, you can add your metrics and you can store your metrics in there, but it doesn't give you the story. It doesn't actually get people invested. So yeah, that would be my key lesson with that, is that yes, fine, you've got all of that data, absolutely fantastic, but we need to focus on the so what. What does that mean? What did that do? What did it achieve? And why is it important? Which is why, looking at the kind of social value measure up aspect of things, I'm looking at that and going, well, actually, that's social value back into the UK. That's back into the economy in some way, shape or form, by us doing those small activities or those individual initiatives. We've actually given back into the community in some way, and having that measurable data from the data you've been storing is amazing, because then that helps bolster that story that we're actually trying to develop. So for me, yes, it's very much about great, okay, yes, we can store it in a spreadsheet, but that doesn't tell us anything.
Wonderful, wonderful, great. Yeah, I think that's a really important lesson for all of us. And I mean, I even think that when I'm looking at the stories that we're telling, the data that we gather, even those, you know, the value estimates that we've pulled together there, it is important to ask, so what? And say, I mean, what's this actually telling us, and how are we going to use this information? Does this mean anything to the audience that we're talking to? And I think that you know, different versions of the information will speak to different audiences. So thinking about that is certainly really helpful before we just go speeding down into must gather all of the data that we can, and it's got to be complete numbers sort of thing. Cool. Okay, so final question then. Is there what do you think? What should we be looking out for, or what are the key trends that can be either opportunities or risks or concerns for the tech sector and social value through into 2026?
I think there's definitely something. So I think obviously we've spoken a lot about technology moving really quickly. Things are changing all the time, and therefore so are skills. And let's face it, our school curriculums can't necessarily always keep up with that. So what we are finding that is that, yes, fine, technology is moving at a bit of a rapid pace. We are obviously having to adapt to that in the workforce. Students are therefore being taught these things at schools. So there was a whole big thing around obviously cloud migration and things like that a little while ago, where any of the kind of upskilling in schools and are happening at the moment was focused quite heavily on cloud. But the one thing that we're kind of having to understand now is things like national infrastructure isn't necessarily all going to go to cloud. So it would be a case of, you know, we need to make sure that those skills are still being taught, rather than us ending up losing those skills through things like retirement or attrition. And then therefore the new skills that are coming in aren't equipped to actually deal with the running of the day-to-day of that particular infrastructure. So those kind of digital skills gaps are increasing, and therefore we need to be ready to have a technology roadmap in place. We need to have the appropriate apprenticeship styles in place, so having the right kind of courses for people so that they can actually drop in and learn all of those skills. I think that is really something that I'm seeing at the moment, and I'm hearing a lot about it from lots of different types of clients as well, is that skills gap is increasing. Now, the other thing as well is obviously we all know that there is a very heavy gender imbalance in the world of technology. And with AI obviously coming through as being a really kind of prevalent feature of everything that we're doing, we know in the UK, only 22% of women actually occupy any kind of roles associated with AI. And then you've got all of the talks around, you know, training it and the bias that comes into it, and different perspectives as to who is teaching this technology to do what it needs to do. That all needs to be something that we do need to start looking at and making sure that there is that kind of equal opportunity through those engagements in STEM, encouraging girls into tech. You know, that kind of thing is really, really something that I see becoming quite prevalent in 2026.
Yeah, those are really, really interesting points, Shelley, and certainly things that could and should be feeding through into our understandings of social value priorities in 2026 or now or going forwards anyway. You know, not all value or opportunities are equal, and there may be embedded disparities within our sectors that we could or should be looking to address through our organizational practice anyway, but we can prioritize that through our social value practice. Great. Okay, wonderful examples. I want to give a couple of minutes just in case there's any questions that have come through from our audience. So Neil, are you
Yeah, Catherine, Shelley, actually, Dominic asked, were each of the Digital Future Academy locations set up in response to a contract, or are they a company-wide driven initiative?
So initially, for those of you that are football fans, we currently sponsor Manchester United, so that obviously relationship was already existing. But we did then partner with the Manchester United Foundation in order to make sure that we were levelling up those deprived areas of Manchester. The other programs that we have, the one in Newcastle and the one in the Glasgow City region, we actually have offices from DXC in those particular areas. So those ones have come about because we actually have DXC sites in those particular areas, and it's easier for us to support those particular areas from having those sites in those locations. But we do have in the pipeline another Digital Future Academy coming up in and around London, and that is planned for later in this year, and that has been associated with a particular contract. So we are looking at that from all angles. So I hope that answers your question, Dominic.
So interesting. My husband is very excited that you are a Manchester United sponsor. Laura says, really interesting to see a rounded approach to social value, as often it's just used for procurement, which is important, of course, but so good to see the bigger picture too. Do you want to expand on that, Shelley? Why do you think DXC has gone that way?
I think because we have a real understanding of individual well-being as well. So it's all well and good us being able to give back to our communities. But if the people that we are working with who are expecting to deliver the aspects into those communities aren't being looked after, or aren't feeling that they're being treated well, or they're not able to upskill, they're not able to progress, then obviously that for us is really important, because we want to make sure that the people that work for us as well are being treated fairly.
Definitely. Anyone else have any questions? Feel free to pop it into the chat.
I've spotted one in the Q&A, Neil, from
go for it.
Emmeline, who's asked, for the gold level qualitative valuation, is there a specific set of questions that MeasureUp requires participants to answer throughout the engagements? Great question, Emmeline. So all of the MeasureUp values are published on the MeasureUp website. Each value has an explanation of how to use that value, or how to do the measurement to then estimate or calculate your value at bronze, silver, gold, and gold plus level. So for each of the values where the base research that's informed the value that's in the set has specific questions defined, those are outlined at the gold level. So for example, there's a MeasureUp value relating to reducing loneliness. At the gold level, there's an outline of the questions that were asked in the initial research that's evidenced or informed what that reduced loneliness value is, what reducing our loneliness means, or how valuable that is to a generalizable person, what questions were asked in the large data set to be able to infer or pull down that approximate value. Those are outlined on the MeasureUp website. We do say we advise you to use those questions because it helps your data to relate most to the MeasureUp key value or headline value, because that's what would relate to the initial research. But you don't have to ask anything, or you don't have to stick to the validated questions that are sort of defined by MeasureUp. We advise it because it helps the assumption to be the least between what you're doing and the relation to that measure up value, but there might be different ways of gathering data or evidence that are more suitable for your organization and your stakeholders that might be the right thing for you to do in your case. Then using the measure up value, you might want to do a please note, a flag that says this is slightly different from the questions that were used in the initial research. We did this because of these reasons. It could increase the assumption in relation to the value that we're then claiming. But it's better to do what's right for your use case and for your people than to have to strictly stick to a certain set of questions, because that's what MeasureUp says. I hope that helps. I don't think Nil's put into the chat the link to
Yes.
to MeasureUp. Do reach out if you've got more questions. I know we're hitting time now, so I'm just going to do a very quick wrap up for us, to give you a whistle stop into what's coming next and to say thank you to you all for joining us. It really has been lovely to be able to spend this time with you all, and a particularly big thank you to Shelley and to Nil for initiating this session and then putting the work in to actually come and speak with us today, Shelley. It's so helpful to get practical examples of what organisations are actually doing. Certainly from my perspective, I love the measurement and the valuation piece and the theory and the guidance, but translating that into what people actually do is what really, really matters. So hearing from your amazing experience is so helpful for that. So a huge thank you. We encourage you to keep in touch. We love engaging with people and hearing from you. We've got a wonderful newsletter that Nil leads and publishes each week, called the Social Value Tea. We post job roles and what's going on LinkedIn fairly regularly, and particularly job posts on a Friday. A bit of a MeasureUp teaser. We've been working on MeasureUp values relating to young people and children, and we've got a MeasureUp, we're calling a MeasureUp for Kids toolkit coming up, webinar coming soon on that in March, so do stay tuned, yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much all.